Good morning and warm welcome to you all. I'm Vaibhav, your host for today. As we know, the World Food Safety Day is celebrated on 7th of June. We at ICS celebrating Food Safety Day by organizing series of food safety management system program on our virtual Zoom platform. Mr. Sumit Saxena is one of our eminent national food safety experts. Let's continue with our 131st virtual webinar. Our topic for today is FSMS implementation challenges for hotels in India. It shall be taken by Mr. Sumit Saxena. He shall covering requirements of standards on food safety hotels, hotel setup in perspective of food safety standards, diversion and affecting factors in operations and functions, challenges in adherence to standards, possible solutions and actions, followed by question and answer session. Our agenda for today is virtual inauguration by Dr. Sundar Kataria, invoking the blessing of deity, chanting of Gayatri Mantra, introduction of speaker, presentation by Mr. Sumit Saxena, question and answer session, and last closing session. Sadgun Sang is conceived and led by Dr. Sundar Kataria, driven with a mission to elevate the quality, safety, and environmental awareness levels of industry. Sadgun Sang is a series of educative, informative events aiming to illuminate professionals on possible solutions to current issues of industry and economy. His designation and organization, Chairman and Managing Director, International Certification Services Private Limited. His academic qualification, Mechanical Engineer, AMIE, Honorary Doctorate, Business Management. His experience, nuclear, RAPP. He started his career in building India's first nuclear power plant at Rawatbata, Kota, Rajasthan. Oil and gas, EIL. He contributed in developing India's first oil and gas field at Bombay High since its inception. DNV. He was head of industry and offshore development with DNV for 2 decades. ICS. He is the founder of first Indian conformity assessment and inspection body known as the International Certification Services Private Limited, which is a provider of total quality solution under single umbrella with wide spectrum of services. Achievement and awards. Lifetime Achievement Award of NES Corcon received several national and international awards. Now I request Dr. Katare to virtually inaugurate the session.
शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः.
Please join us for the recitation of the Gayatri Mantra.
Swah
A brief introduction of our keynote speaker, Mr. Sumit Saxena. His designation and organization, Head of Global Operations, Marvin Quality Assurance Council. His academic qualification, BTech Honors, Food Technology. Areas of specialization and experience, ISO 22000, 9001, and BRCGS lead auditor, FOSTEC trainer, FSSAI auditor, total 16 years of experience in food industry in 7 countries, has done around 1200 man-days of audits in food manufacturing, retail and catering industries, has done around 4.5 lakh man-hours training, international public speaking. His awards and achievements awarded by Equinox Labs on contribution to food safety on the entire industry in Plan India survey of organizations, individuals and NPOs in June 2017. Awarded Hospitality Trainer of the Year by India Hospitality Dubai in November 2021. Please welcome Mr. Sumit Saxena. Over to you, sir.
Namaskar, everybody. A very good morning to all of you. Uh, it's always a pleasure to be around ICS for Satyin Sang, and I've always appreciated and admired the immense amount of um, perseverance that ICS has with the vision of Dr. Sundar Kataria to bring out something so excellent for the professionals, globally to attend. I mean, this is the thought, the timing, and the day. The entire thing is so convenient for everybody to be present for some time. And it's not about the expertise here. It's about the usefulness at this time that everybody devotes. And it's always. I mean, I've been here in and out, and I really feel that for people, everybody around the globe to attend this session with full fervor. I think it's one of the best ways to come together on a single platform. So thank you so much, SCS, and thanks, Dr. Kataria, um, for organizing this, and thanks, Vaibhav and Sushma, for inviting me to share my experiences here. Um, Vaibhav, I think it's okay if I can share my screen now.
Yes, sir.
Vaibhav, am I audible and visible well?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, perfect. Okay. So, I mean, respecting the vision of Dr. Kataria, without much of an ado, I would just start talking about the session today. Uh, there could be umpteen number of educative and informative sessions that we can have. So I've always believed that the troubleshooting, effective troubleshooting of any kind of a subject is very important. It's a very important instrument and element in its deep study. So today, I mean, honoring the World Food Safety Day, which had its theme this year as food standards save lives. Those are very, very important understanding and interpretation in today's food safety world. If we try to understand the inception of the concerns of food safety, we go back to the Second World War and its impact on the entire globe and its economy and its socio-economic impact, I would say, on the globe. And we try to understand that in each and every training that each of you must have attended, uh, especially regarding hazard, you start understanding the evolvement or evolution of the fraternity over multiple decades. I mean, I would say scores of decades. We start talking about 1940s. Having said that, if you actually give it a deeper thought, you will realize that it's been uh, close to 80, 85 years that we have entered into a structured format of the implementation of food safety. We started designing tools to implement in the industry. Um, the kind of innovations and the kind of development of the mechanisms in the in software systems and hardware systems, it's actually yeah, both the software industry. It, it is immense in number, volumes and also in effects. However, so when you open up the web pages for outbreaks, recalls, food poisoning, epidemics, we realize that there is still a long way to go. And I think that is one of the biggest reasons why the theme was to understand, the importance of each standards in our life. And the certification bodies play a very important role in that. When I say the certification bodies play a very important role in that, all of my audience today, and we have a very good number of it, thanks to all of you for your patience and the time that you have devoted. A very less heard body or authority is the accreditation body. It is very important for us to also understand that uh, it is an equal responsibility and accountability of the accreditation body to to oversee and overlook the kind of implementation monitoring that is required over the globe. This particular theme, this basically tries to explain and describe how closely the food standards, their implementation, and their enforcement on the license or certificated. There will be a certain two terms that we will talk about today. So, certificated is what we use instead of certified, and these certificated bodies or organizations, they share a very important association, which means which actually means that there is a set of enforcement tools that the standard implements. I'm sorry, the standard enforces on the certificated bodies, and the food business operators are supposed to inculcate them in their day-to-day practices, eventually to save a life. So there are also a team promoted by Minnesota. I mean, if you all know, he's a global champion expert, and he has a team which includes me, saving lives officer. So this thematic representation of the certification bodies and the people involved, like the consultants, auditors, and players, saving lives is something very important for us to understand. Today, in the opportunity of a stakeholder of assessing, evaluating, and implementing food safety, we have to understand that you are also on the other side of the food. I mean, you have people in the audience today who are from hotels, who are also from manufacturing industries. You yourself consume food from other manufacturing industries. You visit other hotels, and so you become a consumer. So it's a cyclic, it's a vicious cycle, I would say, which is a cyclic experience that all of us have as a consumer, which increases our responsibility and accountability in the implementation of standards. Talking about the theme and the standards, the biggest uh, element, I would say, uh, which is plays a very instrumental role in the implementation of standards and food safety in the entire global industry of food, is the challenge. Uh, when you start learning after, you realize that you're talking about spacecraft, you're talking about industries like Pillsbury, etc. And when you talk about the big giants in food industry, you talk about Nestle, you talk about, there are the number of things that you have, so you can say that they have set the standards in food safety are majorly from manufacturing, food and beverage. Having said that, um, it leads us to think that somewhere we try to stereotype the requirements of food safety from the manufacturing industry and levy it on the other industry, where lot many points can actually be redundant or irrelevant. This went on for multiple years, multiple years. So, a variety of the country laws also in various, countries of the various continents. We find that the kind of enforcement that was initially put, unless it was amended as well, uh, the implication was troublesome or difficult or inconvenient for the food service industry. So today we basically talk here how the implementation of the food safety requirements um, as per the standard criteria of international standards or country laws have been a challenge to be implemented in the food as an industry. Um, Hotel as an industry is, how we basically categorize is a part of the catering industry, right? So, in catering as a section of the food industry, hotels are just one part. So you have food service restaurants, you have hospitals, you have bulk catering where you talk about the institutional catering giants, strong persons, etc. So our session today is more focused on the challenges that a hotel would face in the implementation of the standards and some of my observations or experiences over the years of what we can recommend to various stakeholders.
Sorry to interrupt, sir. Excuse me, sir.
Yes, Ashwin.
We have
Yes.
some messages in the chats which says that your voice is very low.
Okay. So just give me a minute. Is it low for everybody? Is that you?
We have got 2-3 messages where they are saying that the voice is very low. If you could just check your headset, sir.
Yes. Is it any better?
Yes, sir.
Ashim, I only see the names with which they've entered automatic names like Lenovo and
Yes, sir.
purchase
There's a
manager.
message from yes, sir. There are messages which is better now.
Okay, so should I begin? I mean, should I continue with
Yes,
the
sir.
session?
Yes, sir. Please continue. And sorry for the interruption.
All right. No problem. No problem. All right. So, okay, friends, I'll just try to look a little more odd, but sound a little better. So, okay. So I think it should be better now.
Yes,
sir.
sir. There are messages. It's better now.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So,
Thank you.
very well. So, we were talking about how these standards, the implementation of these standards can be posed with some challenges in the hotel industry specifically. Um, if you know the high level structure of the management systems by the iOS or them adopted by the GFSI, food safety standards, by far and large, we have the clauses that you can see. We all must be, it must be on the tips of our hands. And of course, you have 10 fingers and they had 10 clauses. So we have the context of the organization, we have the leadership, we have planning, support, operation, performance evaluation, improvement, and continual improvement, basically. Now, when we talk about general mainstream food industry, which includes the warehousing, the cold chain, and the manufacturing, the context of the organization is very clearly understood. Um, um, The objective of these industries in the mainstream, they have a very well defined and a specific objective and motive and intent of those industries to exist. You know, like providing you that particular product that they're manufacturing. It's very simple as that. If you talk about cold chain or a supply chain, or retail, it is very, very, very clear that they are going to provide you on the doorstep or in a particular environment a set of all the manufactured products that they buy from the manufacturing industries. For the cold chain, they are contracted by manufacturing industry to supply, transport, and deliver certain set of products in a certain environmental condition from a certain point to a certain destination. So the intent, motive, objective, and the purpose of these industries to exist is very clear. It's very transparent, and it's very well defined. All right. So the context can be defined very well. However, when you come to a food service industry, which is not hospital, which is not institutional, because in both of these industries in the catering business also are somewhere defined in their operation. When it comes to a hotel, even in that case, if you talk about a restaurant, when you go to a restaurant, the menu is defined, all right? And it is not very often, it is not, it's very rare or unique that in restaurants, you may be able to order something, designed by you as your requirement, or have it somewhere else where you wish. So the dining and the menu, the cuisine, the portion size, everything is defined in the restaurants as well, and especially if there are multiple outlet restaurants. When we talk about hotels, there is um, a limitless wideness in the terms of the delivery of which we say dispatch in the industry. Exactly. So this is the stereotyping which I'm telling you. So when you come to the interpretation or implementation of the standards in the hotel industry, you tend to define using the existing terminology with the manufacturing industry. So dispatch होता है, यहाँ पे dispatch का मतलब service होता है. So that service could not take the place of the definition of the product delivery as food service. It has to be defined as dispatch, which means food service to different points of sale. So this context of organization becomes very open when it is described for a hotel per se. When you talk about leadership, now in the case of leadership, we will be talking about a few things in the next slide. That it is not always a very clearly defined hierarchy that you have in the other industries like the supply chain or the manufacturing industry. In a manufacturing industry, whether it is an Indian-based industry or it is a multinational company or an international Indian firm, you will find that there will be a global corporate, zonal corporate, country level corporate, and then you will have site defined functions. So the only complexity can be that depending upon the various departments that they have, the functions, there may be parallel existence of the vertical hierarchy and the horizontal hierarchy. For an example, a quality manager in a biscuit plant in, let's say, in Delhi could be reporting to their general manager in the North Zone, plus also uh, the quality head of the North Zone. So it could be a parallel reporting. So this is the only complexity that can be present in a manufacturing industry and similarly for the supply. However, when it comes to the food service industry, and especially hotels, you can have multiple levels of entities in there. Like you will have the brands, the hotel brands like the Crown Plaza or IHCL, the Tata hotels basically. Then you will have the Oberois, you will have Radisson, you will have the country. So these could also be co-owned or co-branded by other brands, like Country Inn, etc. So they could be, dual or co-branding of a particular hotel also. So both these brands could have their people around, and that can also happen in the case of aggregators like Zomato and Swiggy, which is bundle technology, etc. Or even Flipkart, Amazon. Um, like for an example, you all know that Blinkit is a part of Zomato now. So, there is a multiple hierarchy in such kind of organization. Similarly, apart from this, the brands not always own the land. The land is owned by some other company, some other organization. So there will be an existence of organization from that entity also. So when you talk about this may look like complex, but it becomes very simple when it is on paper and things are decided in an agreement. However, what I'm trying to tell you is that this complexity arises when you are trying to define the leadership part in your mind for FSM. It becomes very difficult because the decision making is not single-handedly owned by a certain position or a designation or even a company. It will be multiple, like three entities coming together to take a decision. In such cases, the point, the purpose of having the clause on leadership, the clause number 5, needs to be defined in a certain way, which becomes very theoretical. When you talk about clause 7, like support services, um, the kind of control that we are expecting in food safety management systems for the hotels to have again comes into a jeopardy because the kind of uh, the service providers that are available as per the geography and topography of the countries. I'm not talking about only India here. I'm talking globally and especially in the let's say in the Asian markets, in the African markets, and why we talk about countries, we can talk about topography like islands. So people who have experience of Maldives, and places like these, they will understand the point of service providers. How difficult it is to have your inspection criteria set for the service providers as per the requirement of the food safety standards, and especially the clause number 7. Um, of course, I wouldn't say anything about the clause number 8 because that is a core of food safety, and there could be a lot of elements in its interpretation as well. However, that is something which is absolutely non-compromisable and non-negotiable. So I'll not get into that and dilute the significance of the clause requirements. However, whenever there are regulations which are floated across as country norms, rules, and regulations, the industry always has the kind of, the margins or the timelines to respond and, contest or even discuss for modifications or amendments in the late drafts of notification. So if the kind of industry, accepts it, like in India, by the FSSR 2011, uh, the requirement of emergency point, which is supposed to be discouraged, is that the running water point should happen in 15 degrees Celsius of running water. Now, along with the other requirements. So, um, to understand this particular requirement of thawing of the present food products, uh, it's very important to understand how would it actually be possible for the industry to achieve that kind of implementation of providing 15 degrees Celsius of running water, because unless your water is chilled and potable, you cannot achieve that kind of a temperature from the taps. Then there will be temperature gains also in the pipeline, etc. So to have 15 degrees Celsius running water for 90 minutes and the kind of energy loss that will be incurred during that point process for 90 minutes will cost the hotel a lot. Not have, I mean, I'm absolutely not trying to uh, dilute this requirement. I mean, I would have rather said that remove the kind of emergency fund totally, or portion it down and do some other alternative methods instead. But having provided a technical resource of 15 degrees Celsius of running water for 90 minutes is not convenient to achieve. And a mantra that we all should actually, we must have experienced in our life is that unless a standard or unless a rule is convenient to achieve, maybe by ample amount of meticulous efforts put into put that particular practice into execution, unless it is convenient to be operated daily by the people who are actually working on this software, it will not be religiously followed. Pardon my words, but then on actual ground level, this cannot be executed. I mean, and what kind of uh, validation or due diligence validation can you actually make for a 15-degree water coming from a source for 90 minutes being used as such? You know, so it's a very difficult point to achieve. However, it was given 6 years to be accepted by the industry, and the industry didn't contest this point. So the point exists in the regulation. So basically, what I'm trying to put forward is that there are certain sub clauses in the operations as well. Uh, I mean, the concerns don't exist in all the clauses though. We're talking about only the challenges here. To understand the kind of challenges and their the strength or the weight of the challenge, let us understand the setup of a hotel in terms of food safety. So, I mean, this is an inclusive session which talks about the hotel industry challenges, in a global platform. So, there will be people who are not from the industry. So, this is informative for them as well. So, the areas that we need to align with the food safety standards and organizational setups will be commissaries where there is a raw processing of vegetables, fruits, and in the between the eggs and non-veg foods, meats and seafood, etc. These are separate areas so that there is no contamination that happens to the prepared foods in the main preparation areas. Guard manager is an area which talks about which deals with the prepared foods which are prepared at a lower temperature and they are to be served cold or at room temperature. So basically, what you also know as a sandwich section, etc., may not actually be a guard manager, but most the closest definition could be a place where you prepare and store salads for service. Guard means basically vegetables, the plant produces. Pantry, now what do you call as a pantry in a hotel is basically a setup where prepared food is finally touched up for its service, which could be a touch up or garnish or plating, etc. So it's ready to be like to be served now. It can be picked up and served. So even you'll have the next point is pick up and dish out. So these are those areas where the food is finally ready to be served to the consumer. So this could be the pick up and dish out areas for uh, you know the prepared a la carte food, or it could also be for takeaway. It could be for the room service, etc. Side stations are those areas uh, which are present within a restaurant for an easy access of material to the food service team. So now over here, the side station, the importance of side station is that not only do they have the provision for the cutlery, crockery, which is to be placed in those side stations, but also when you are being served food, those side stations can be used for the bigger containers and all to be placed from where you could be served food. This could, however, be also confused or misused as a clearance station. So, if in case, see, why are we defining the areas is for the people not from the industry to understand the kind of challenges they may face, the industry may face. So, in terms of implementation of this, so when I talk about implementation of the standard, then you're designing flow charts and the area flows. There you need to understand that to talk about unilateral flow in the food industry. So having these arranged is very sensitive to the kind of building that the hotel has received during the commissioning time or the design time uh, to have this flow in a unilateral process. Otherwise, the commissary in which we should always be the first points and the initial points. And the guard manager and pantry should be just at the end of it, the service part. So these plus the side station, the concerns with the side station is that if the number and the sizes are not adequate, they can also be misused as clearance stations, so, which is not right and which is it's very easy for you to observe it as non-compliance. However, for the people who are serving, the core objective of food service in a hotel restaurant or the hotel room is hospitality as well as time taken. So, and of course, attention and attending the customers. This movement of people and the movement of the crockery cutlery or the food, it's all counting up to the time taken for each service on each table. So this misuse is quite prevalent. It is seen that people who are serving food are also clearing the plates and all without changing of gloves or without washing their hands. This is one of the biggest challenges that the industry faces, the food industry faces, and it's about service. So it's not only about the hotel. The same thing also holds good for the cabin crews and the flight food services. In-room dining. Now, in-room dining, you all know that the hotels have rooms, and when you order food from the the, the room service, you receive the food in inside your rooms. So that is one area where the food is being dished out for the service to the room, which is a very separate kind of a function apart from the one that is, serving you in the restaurant or in the bar. Banquets are uh, banquets are like the dormant facility in the hotels, where so see you all know these terms. It's only that what we're trying to understand is how they are different and what is the actual interpretation of these terms when it comes to the implementation of food safety and when you have to design an actual manual of food safety standards. Uh, so the banquets, we all know what banquet is, but then the significance that the banquet will hold in a hotel is that these banquets are basically the dead facilities wherein they're not always into operation, but they only come into operation when there is an event. So whenever there is an event, you will not see that the people are directly getting inside the event and serving food. So the area that is being used for the setup of the food service in the banquets and hotels is called a pre-function area. So in that pre-function area, the arrangements and these could be open. If you must have seen that there are these corporate events that happen in the passages of these hotels where you have multiple banquets, there will be food service lying in open. So that's the concern we are talking about. The pre-function areas will the kind of food defense implementation that we do on inside the production areas and the service areas becomes a little lesser when we talk about pre-function areas, because those areas are not attended 24/7. They're not operational 24/7. And even during an event, they are operated by most of the times people who are hired on a contract basis. So the banquets, the stewarding areas are basically areas which people should know in the fraternity that they are areas where the crockery and cutlery is cleaned or prepared uh, beyond a general schedule, like buffing and rubbing of or coating of the crockery and cutlery, uh, shaving of the chopping boards, etc., and sharpening of the knives, etc. Fixing up of the damaged labels and containers. So all these things happen in stewarding areas. Stewarding areas will also have wash-up areas like dishwashing and pot washing. So dishwashing are the areas where the crockery and cutlery should be washed. The pot washing is the area where the heavier pots are washed. Now, as per the hospitality experience or hospitality operations, the pot wash, will have three things. All of my participants here right now who have Indian restaurants in their hotels or Mughlai or etc. will understand what I'm trying to say here. That the ideal international standard we say you have three things and those big counters and all. But people from the Chinese cooking with heavy iron wokes and papilas and handis and the bigger pots. You cannot wash them on counters. You have to sit on the floor and then only you can wash them and clean them properly so that there is no grease and grind left behind. Now that to implement as per the international standards and have it written in an SOP becomes a very difficult point, and there are people who, for whom it is difficult to understand that there is a process that happens, sitting on the floor and cleaning, um, aligning it with the kind of food safety excellence expectation that people need. So this is also one important point. Then comes outdoor catering, where uh, the food is prepared within the hotel. Then there are these transport or transit equipment and closed container equipment which are used, which could be the equipment may be insulated or the vehicles could be temperature controlled. However, so these are transported to a certain destination in a certain time period, so they could be reprocessed to be served at the point of sale. So that is called as outdoor catering. So you can understand the amount. So why are we discussing these areas today? When you are auditing a hotel and food safety, it is important for you to understand that whereas you general cleaning is important for you as a very important perspective from any part of the food industry. For hotels, there are other elements also which hold a very, very important significance. So if I'm in an audit in a hotel today, and for 2 days, and I do not see any of these things during my audit, I would not know that they happen. But it is important for me to ask, interrogate, and find out so I can also assess and evaluate the conformances in situations like outdoor catering. It is very important and has to be covered under the scope of any hotel's food standard manuals, because the kind of bacterial contamination or even the viral contamination that can be uh, put into the food because of this transit, uh, you know, which could be physically chemical, biological hazards, or even allergenic hazards, could be, a bigger risk than whatever risk you were trying to prevent the food from in the kitchen area. So, this is something that the fraternity should understand or should take into account when they are assessing or evaluating the food safety of a hotel. Um, the designations that you have in a hotel are owners. Owners are described to you that they could be owning entities like some infra projects, private limited. They must be owning a land and a building. And then there is an organization that promises or commits to operate that building as a hotel. So I can give you the best example of palaces. So the heritage palaces and Havelis, etc. across the country, which are being now managed as a hotel. So it's a similar thing over here. So the owners are the families that are running those premises, who own the premises, and the hotels happen to only be a management chain. So they only bring in the functions and the operations. The building, which is your first, second, third, subclause of design layout, surrounding equipment layout, all these things actually happen to be your uh, the owner's responsibility. So it's important to understand their roles and responsibilities. So the designations could be clear. Then finance heads are, why have I put it over there? I've not taken all the designations. It's because finance heads are generally from the owner's organizations, not from the management chain organization. Generally, not talking about probably all the hoteliers present. The general managers are the leaders or the top most management designation from the hotel management side. Then you will have a resident manager in some cases who will be having an equal responsibility as a general manager, but in the last or their subordinates in the cases. You will have the executive chef who will be the top most responsible in the food production department. The sous chef would be the chef who would relieve an executive chef, would be his or her subordinate, and perform the activities as defined by the executive chef. The commie chefs are those chefs who are learning to become chefs. So they are those cooks on the ranges who are learning to enter into the management system. Now, why are these important to understand? Because when you know the designations, you will be able to understand their roles and responsibilities. So, there are potage makers, associates. So there are different kind of people who are given different tasks and jobs. Now, the important thing over here is that you should not be okay with the kitchen stewarding preparing chai in the hotel. I know everybody from the hotel will be laughing right now at this point, but now this is why we need to understand the designations and departments. So the chefs are responsible to be on the range, and the kitchen stewarding is a department where they are the people responsible for cleaning and upkeep of the entire infrastructure of the production area. They are responsible for cleaning. Neither of them can switch the task, at least during their kind of occupancy. F&B is basically the service department. So you have the production department that prepares food and the service department that serves food. So it's generally called in short as an F&B, basically, but even the executive chef belongs to the F&B. The chefs and service people, they both belong to F&B, but how it can be better defined is the F&B production and the F&B service. So it's generally called as F&B to mean the service person in the method. The EAM, which could be executive assistant to manager or the managers, there could be various vice presidents also, directors of culinary, directors of F&B. These are all the people who will perform either the service or the production of the food. Order takers are important designations because they are not generally food handlers, but they are food handlers in terms of they could also be involved in the preparation of the trays or trolleys for the room service. They are the people who become the brain for the room service because they are ordering food. So any kind of insensitivity, any kind of sensitivity or any kind of allergy, intolerance, preferences, all these are taken by the order taker. The order taker, one of the lesser discussed responsibilities of the order taker is also timekeeping. So when there is a challenge, when there is a concern, there's a complaint, and we want to track the complaints, uh, the first point will always be when was the order taken, by who, and how long did it take to solve the concern. So timekeeping will have a major element of the role of an auditor. The kitchen stewards are the people who are basically involved in the cleaning of the crockery, cutlery, and the infrastructure, the cleaning department. Butlers. Now, butlers. Who are butlers? Butlers are basically it's a common ownership from the front office department and the F&B service department. So there are these luxury hotels where there are people who could be given to certain floors or certain rooms or suites or certain guests as their sort of private escorts to the hospitality of the hotel. So they basically fall under the front office as they are assigned by the front office. However, their roles will include not only the front office of the housekeeping, but also setting up of their F&B inside the room for those hotels in those certain suites. A housekeeper certainly is the people who are involved in the housekeeping of the hotel and how they are important to that because they generally have the responsibility and accountability of the pest controlling and also the upkeep of the restaurant area and also laundry. Now, why laundry is important? Because the entire restaurant linen, which includes all the napkins and tablecloths, etc., the table mats, the cleaning of these substances is under the housekeeping, plus the entire setup of the hand wash stations in the public area is governed by the housekeeper, and also the guest room pantries are managed by the housekeeper, which will have all the tea, coffee amenities, all the teaspoons or stirrers, the tea cups, the water kettles in the rooms, the setting up of the sugar and the sweeteners, the coffee and the tea sachets, etc. So I hope you all understand that this is absolute food safety. This is a part of food safety. If the cups are not getting washed properly, the dishwashing area not getting disinfected, the disease can transfer from if a housekeeper has a process of just using the hot water from the tap, which is not more than 45 degrees Celsius, to place it back on the tea, coffee, and amenity tray, then there is a full chance of the disease transferring from a certain guest to the other guest. So, or even within the family of the guest staying in the same room. So, these are certain processes which are governed by the housekeeper and how their role and responsibility is important in the hotel for food safety. The project, the departments to talk about, there will be a department which is called as a project, which if there is no one present here in the audience today, then I can openly say that the hoteliers, sort of envy and don't like me. But the project is basically as that team of engineering, which is assigned to um, erect a certain hotel or a building or a project, as you say, for a certain ground. So now, why did I make that statement first? Because the entire responsibility and ownership of that particular building to be erected or furnishing of the hotel is handed over by the projects to the hotel. Now, in many cases, what happens is there is a flag list which is prepared by the hotel management team against the project to be completed before they take the ownership or responsibility. Many errors in the design is created due to any reason possible are is taken or accepted as a lifetime challenge by the hotel management if it is not corrected and given by the project. That is called as a project handover. So this department of projects is basically when they are involved in the commissioning or erection of a certain hotel. And at that point of time, they have the complete planning, they have the brain map, they have the all the resources, and they also have the plans and sketches of how they are going to bring the infrastructure into execution. The production and service, as we have discussed, is clearing, housekeeping. Maintenance is a department which is dealing with the engineering and repair of the entire infrastructure. Now, what is important for us, all of us to know is that in a hotel, the engineering and maintenance departments will be responsible and accountability of the entire building. So when we talk about only the production and service areas, they will have only a few people who are dedicated to just the kitchen and the restaurants. However, you can call them as the people in the handling the production and service. However, they will have a team also who are dedicated to the plant rooms and their back area. Now, there is a complete setup which involves the engineering and maintenance department personally to be, to operate there, but is directly food safety and is directly food handling, which is water treatment. So it is required by the engineers to enter inside the water tanks, to repair the water tanks, repair the water pipelines, etc. And if you have a person full of grease and bracelets and sweat and dirt and blood and everything, you can actually go and pick up an AC in a guest room or some lights in the porch area of a hotel. But the same person cannot be involved in the cleaning of a water storage tank. So this is an important thing that we need to understand that if the entire engineering maintenance is there for a hotel, there has to be a few dedicated personnel for the food and beverage or water link for the production service areas or auxiliary areas as well. HR function, the human resource function, will also at times have a learning function. Otherwise, we may have a separate learning and revision department and a human resource or a payroll department. So the human resource is dealing with the manpower and or they also have the responsibility of the training or learning and development. So all the personal or the health examinations, the trainings, the qualifications, the recruitment, this is all by the HR. Also, the regular and periodic upkeep of the competence is also dealt by the learning and department as a part of the HR function. The front office, as so to say, is generally only at the front desk. However, they hold a very important responsibility when they become a part of a recall or a security breach or any fire safety incident. Or the biggest food safety involvement of the front office is whenever there is a booking in the front desk and a consumer, a food consumer or a beverage consumer is sensitive to certain ingredients or certain food products and have allergies, this is the first point of contact. So this is the department which is responsible to extract that information from a consumer and dissipate down to the respective departments. There is no other way or other point where this information can actually be voluntarily departed by a consumer. So it happens at the front desk. And also, front desk becomes a food handler when they have some welcome drinks to give it, or when you are sending some, tea, coffee, or water, or these freshness in the hotel cards for drop or tip. So this way, even the front office can be a food handler. Then sales, they generally do not have a very important the role physically in food safety as such, but when it comes to the banqueting events, it is the scales that takes all the orders of foods. So any kind of information that you may need in terms of customer complaints, any type of information that you may need in terms of the indemnity clauses used by the hotel for outside food, outside cooks, and their health status or their kind of, personal hygiene status, all those things can be answered by service personnel in terms of their banqueting uh, uh, quotation or document which is generally called as EOQs and EOQs, which they have with the customers. So why they play a role here? Because in terms of a banquet, the kitchen or the service do not get directly involved in the planning of an event. They only execute the event. So when we talk about the background or the foreground of an event, then it is the stage that. In terms of the keywords, which are a little different for people to understand, for them to involve these keywords in their audits or training or their observations during their audit, it's important to understand the few of them. Belay Cartesian is basically, you will find them as separate retail or outlets in the hotels. However, they only mean that uniquely delicate or delicate. It's being used as a German and a French word both. And in both of them, it is called as a uniquely special food product. So it is generally called as a Belay or delicatessen, where you might be having cold cuts or special food, like various different cheeses, etc., being displayed. So there is no norm as such what you can taste with delicatessen now. We even have independent delicatessen these days. However, this is what is the thing. Cold cuts are basically preserved, processed meats or poultry, which are served at room temperature and will stay there to get preserved. A tableti hote is basically when you are being served food on the restaurant table. And a la carte is the kind of service which is done when you order something of your choice. So when you order something from a given menu or a given set of options, then what is being served to you is a la carte. A la minute is when you are given an a la carte, then what you immediately prepare. Like, it's not the dal makhani which stays on the steam for 3 days. It's like preparing an omelette or preparing a paratha. These are all a la minute productions and services. You just prepare, toss something, prepare and have it ready. Um, Chef Cunard is a designation of a chef, of a kind of chef who is involved in capacities of being able to do everything in the absence of anybody in the hotel production department. Smoking basically would be what it means. However, in the terms of the food, is basically infusing the fume of a certain fuel like coal, etc., which may or may not be in contact with the food to give a certain flavor which was infused with that fume. There are equipment also available that are used for fuming. Otherwise, the conventional method used to be placing the coal over a certain dish which holds the food. Well done. Uh, Apart from what it means literally, well done, medium done, rare done are three kinds of ways of which you can finish a meat steak or a burger patty. So there are European requirements of a food product not to be well done, like not to be completely cooked, like medium cooked or rarely cooked meat. So when you want to consume rare meat. So in such cases, it is called as a well done, medium done, or well done meat. Cruet sets are the salt and pepper family put together. The Chinese tray are the condiments of the vinegar, the chili vinegar, the soy sauce, and the chili oil or whatever other condiments that you can have. Why these are important? These are important because these two are products which are frequently touched by the guest, and ideally it should be changed in every service. However, it depends upon the hotel how they are trying to what methods they have to prevent any kind of disease transfer with the fluids and the Chinese condiment. By breakage, you mean any kind of glassware that you have breaks. Its containment is also the responsibility of the stewarding department, and it gets reported to the F&B service department because they hold the inventory of all the glassware in the hotel. So the breakage is that it's a complete process, and EPNS and CCGS, basically what are the full funds? EPNS is also plated trickle silver. So whatever silver property in custody that you see, they are quickly plated. That is also what the stewarding does or gets done. CCGS is basically property custody glassware and silverware. So these are the terms which are being generally used for the hotel department and important for the community to understand. Now let me talk about a few challenges that the industry faces. Sushma Vaibhav, I believe the session is 12:13 and not 12.
So you may continue, sir.
But it's still 12:30, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. Very well. So let us see a few challenges. Let us understand them. I have tried to summarize these challenges based on the category of the report. Let me talk about the industry equity first. I have already given you a little brief that how there could be multiple entities present in a hotel management of a hotel. So the first concern that comes in, I mean, apart from the one that we discussed, was budgeting. So many of the times, the approval or the decision on a certain budget is, is decided by the owning company, not the managing. So uh, the hotel brand that we visit is not always deciding on the budget. We ask for approval from the owning company. So, they are the decision. Overlapping brands. Now, at times, what happens when you have multiple brands, or you have the owning company having its brands, brand standards, also the management company having the brand standards. And in a unique case where the owning company could be Indian and having their own brand standards, the managing company being non-Indian, having some kind of a European or American brand standards, and also the law of the land, let's say the FSSAI in India or the Nepal law or the South African law or the Sri Lankan law for that particular country, when they all come together, it becomes a challenge for the executioners like the production and the service, the executive chef and the manager to bring into a system, an FSMS manual with SOPs, which talks about the requirements which satisfies all the three, plus also the quality of service as per their actual core job. So that is also a very big challenge. The information dissemination and regulatory compliance. So regulatory compliance, as I talked about points, so there could be some other requirements of the law of the land, which could be really inconvenient or difficult to implement for a hotel. Apart from that, as you saw the organization of how the team works, it becomes very difficult for the information to be disseminated from top to bottom because uh, the general manager will be the top responsible. Then there will be departments. Now there are certain departments which will be more susceptible or vulnerable to a certain kind of knowledge. Let's say a cleaning chemical got banned, a pest control chemical got banned. Now the source of this information will be a chemical company or a pest control company, and it may come down to to be used by the chemical operator or the stevedoring department. But if we come to a general market, sometimes the complex network of the branched organization and system could cause a delay or a failure in the right information reaching the right department or the person at the right time and invoking the right kind of action. Um, We have seen an example of this, and I do have my friends in ICS who will agree with the fact that we have come across a few hotels where the FSSAI order of the third party FSSAI audits was provided to the owning companies, the owning entities, and it somehow did not reach the hotel management, that is the general managers, uh, for as long as a year. So it took them that long to have that kind of information. So these are certain complexities that exist in the hotel management. When we talk about the FSMS requirement as a challenge, there are certain things which are really not that easy to execute. Like for an example, the FSMS manual talks about assets. Assets talks about penal description. Now, for any other industry, it will be very easy for you to describe a product, and its intended use. But if you understand the product description of the food that is being sold in a hotel, where you may have a kind of soup, and you may want to have it in a different way as a consumer. And that becomes a different product description altogether, changed or modified. As a hotelier, do you expect, as a consumer, okay, as a consumer, do you expect a hotel to say no to a modified request that you may have? Change to SI1. And do you expect the hotel, as you know, we have our ISO manual being certified by ICS Mumbai. So in that manual, this is the recipe and this is the way we are going to serve you, and we cannot change from this pattern. So you will not accept it as a consumer. And that becomes a challenge for the hotel chain. Recall. In other food industries, it is a very well defined process where you have time, you get deadlines and timelines to perform each and every step of a food recall and then its withdrawal. However, in a hotel, you just trying to imagine the time that is available for for that just dished out and reaches the consumer's table, the tablet. Where you get 7 days to close a recall, here you have, let's say, 7 minutes to close a recall before a concern reaches the consumer or the consumer. So that is another challenge with the FSMS. Internal audit is basically quite a bit cross-functional audit. Uh, you know, spread over the entire process should be planned. Its implementation becomes a little complex when you have lesser persons in the hotel who have the right kind of in-depth knowledge of each of those departments. Now, you will have a microbiologist or a hygiene manager in a hotel, but it is very difficult for a purchase manager to know each and every aspect of the engineering department of their operations, the kitchen department of their operations. It will be difficult for an engineer or a maintenance department person to know the kind of the field safety impact of a housekeeper's role, and also vice versa. So when you are expecting the cross-functional internal audit, uh, the level or expanse or extent of the knowledge of the department becomes a little restricted in terms of the hotel industry. The vendor audit, that is similar case where you cannot expect the non-biased departments. Like you would not ideally want to have purchase department conducting vendor audits. But however, they will be the best person in this industry to conduct the the designing layout. In the case of a hotel, generally you will already have the design of the layout available. The sampling of the products also becomes very random because in other cases, in other industries, you will have a certain a formula that you can apply. But in the case of a hotel, the receiving and the inventory is all seasonal and also demand based. So the sampling size of the raw material becomes quite inhibited. In this case, it becomes a little redundant also, and at times also irrelevant. And also, it is not even possible. Like if in case I have uh, 3 meal events every day for 7 days. Imagine the number of equipments I will need to store all my food products from each event for 7 days in the freezer as a sample for due diligence. Then, as we had already discussed about the unilateral flow of the food products or the process of the food will highly depend upon the situation of that enclosure of the process in the process. So, you cannot have a butchery after a process area. And you may not have a waste area or waste disposal mechanism from within the kitchen or the receiving area. You cannot have receiving and the disposal of waste at the same time, the same place. So this unilateral of food products where you have the receiving of the raw material, cleaning and sorting, pre-processing, processing, service, dispatch, and then the waste discard, which should be in a unilateral flow. It is absolutely premise design principle. So if in case your design is right, if you have used up with up and down, over and below, and because lower up and below, then this unilateral flow will happen. The process will be hampered. So another challenge which is difficult to explain in the FSMS requirements of the design area. Now, the reason why we are holding this session is another point of challenge. These are the external resources. So when the certification body auditors or the training body trainers or the consultants are not equipped with their information, how it functions, or the departments of designation, they will not be able to support with the right kind of troubleshooting examples as a trainer or a consultant, they will, or for implementation also, and as auditors also, they will be absolutely irrelevant or redundant. Their questions, their interrogation may not be able to follow the confidentiality of the privacy of a hospitality with the hotel has with the customers, and also will not be able to in the pursuit of thinking that they are putting up the right kind of pressure and question on the food processing, etc., like alliteration, etc. They may lose out on things like outdoor catering, in-room dining, takeaway orders, etc., which will be a lesser known fact, or the management of the price station, lesser known facts by them. All right. So the auditors also need to have the specific and required information. The food inspectors that visit the hotels and restaurants, they also come with their basic knowledge of the food industries, and whatever information is provided to them. And when they come to you, they will not understand the concept of loss. I hope each hotelier will, probably they will be empathetically in clear that okay, I understand. So this prop concept is very important, and this prop concept brings a lot of disaster to a lot of hotels in terms of the food inspection. And the food inspectors fail to understand that there are certain food products, certain decorations in food services which are not edible, cannot even be confused for food service. Each hotel has their own ways to identify how those things cannot be consumed. But I know so many places where the food inspectors have challan or penalized the hotels for keeping those decorative items, which even the consumer would know is not edible, as possible causes of contamination. So those, then the service providers. Now, service providers here are not a challenge with lack of information. The service providers here are a challenge with providing more information than before. So the hotel industry will understand that the inception of food safety in this industry was not from the food industry's food safety experts years ago, They were from their vendors, like cleaning companies, like food testing labs, etc. So they were able to set their ideas in this industry, which are no longer relevant, which are still running in the country. Countries like keeping water bottles in the chillers for taking pictures, keeping water bottles filled with oil in deep freezers to take temperature. All these things are never written in any kind of books of food safety and hold no importance whatsoever, are not evaluated at all. However, they are running because the inception of food safety was brought up by these industries and they took it forward. Like the amount of sanitizers that the hotels have on their kitchen counters these days should be disastrous, with knives and chopping boards and containers and tasting spoons, etc., all put into the sanitizers right at the same place where they are preparing food, which would be hazardous. But that is a concept which has been put forward by the service providers and has become accepted. So, where the first 4 points talk about the length of information, the fifth point talks about excess information. Again, then you will have terminology concerns where the hotel industry wrongly knows these terms, like fumigation. Fumigation does not happen in that. What happens is fogging. You never freeze and you have no freezers in a hotel. What you all have are equipment to hold frozen food frozen. The biggest problem is when the hotel industry thinks that they can receive raw poultry, raw meat, raw stuff, and then put it in the freezer for 6 months. So the 6 month shelf life is for food products that are frozen by the intermediate or immediate freezing. IQF mechanism in the industry with huge human span lowers at minus 25 to even minus 50 degrees Celsius with a huge velocity of air to freeze the core of the water activity molecule or the embedded water moisture molecule inside the food product. It's not the surface freezing by putting them inside the freezer. That is causing food safety issues. So that is the second term which is very incorrectly used. The third thing is inoculation, where the whole hotel industry doesn't understand the concept of vaccination and only health examination or testing of the samples is done. However, this is also a very important term to be kept in mind. The scope definition, where somehow the industry doesn't include certain certain substances or ideas or thoughts in their concept of food safety is the gift hampers, where you will have multiple products with multiple labels or no labels at all. Donation of leftover food, the food which is being left over, is it still safe to consume by people? We've had major concerns and complaints of food poisoning incidences by the leftover foods. The last one in Delhi itself, visitors concept. So there is a concept of uh, the guests who are in the rooms. Then there's a concept of visitors who can be the service providers. But people like the auditors, trainers, the guests who want to visit the kitchens, all of them have to be designated as a visitor. They should also be following the same rules and regulations, including the sales personnel, the front office personnel, your general manager, the prime minister of the country, whoever it is. When it comes to food safety, it is each and everybody's responsibility, and um, it is each everybody's accountability as well. So everybody's staying under the umbrella. The scope of the food handlers, it is very important that the hotel understands that it is not only the production, the service persons who are food handlers, but it's also all the engineers who are involved in the upkeep of the area, equipment, also the water storage tank of food handlers, all the housekeeping persons who are involved in the pantry handling, and the guest in tea, coffee, and medicine handling are also the family of food handlers, And similarly, any such other department or like buttons. The scope of food handling. Now, for food handling, it is not only the kitchens, the service, receiving stores, or the service areas that are the food handling, but also the rooms are a part of it. We serve chocolates, we turn down amenities like sweets and stuff, the mini bars. They are all food handling requirements. When you are serving food or prepared drinks in the gymnasium, in the spa when you're preparing some tea, etc. In the pool when you are serving alcoholic beverages, food, etc. They are all in the scope of food handling. Then a very important point from which I will go to purchasing is the use of sensitive ingredients. So there are people that when you talk about FSMS, intended use in the product description, then we seldom miss out on counting these certain items which are very sensitive to be consumed, like aspartame. Aspartame can be very hazardous and sucralose for could be very hazardous to certain people and also when incorrectly used at certain temperatures. Margarine cannot be used by everybody, palm cannot be consumed by everybody, and these are the products that the hotels take liberty in using. Like you must be having a sugar-free desserts for a certain packet menu. But then if they are using sucralose and aspartame, then the infants, the immunocompromised, the pregnant women, they cannot consume it. Monosodium glutamate, same thing. So they may not add monosodium glutamate, but you may be using aromatic powders which contain monosodium glutamate. So this understanding of the ingredients is very important. To include them in the script definition, which I will directly take you to purchasing, where I have tried to talk about the source of products. Like whenever we were talking about products like mirchi, it could be one of the ingredients of the raw material. Similarly, we may have things like gelatin for bakery, and you are calling a certain pastry as vegetarian, but somehow the kind of gelatin that you're using has come from the foods of animals, or, fat of animals, not the fat of the animals, but source of the animal. So this information can only happen when the purchase department and the receiving department is alert enough. With high taste, and I am a first-hand experienced person of this. I am allergic to shellfish, and the original recipe of Thai curry red paste is shrimp paste in it. And so it not only becomes a concern for a vegetarian, non-vegetarian, because you'll find majority of the hotels having their menus talking about uh, Thai curry, green, chicken, seafood, and vegetables. That's Thai curry red, chicken, seafood, and vegetables. So all kind of categories you can prepare from that to elaborate your menu. But you fail to understand that your Thai curry paste, the red paste, had shrimp paste in it. So not only can it not be vegetarian, but also it cannot be served to somebody who is allergic to shellfish. Similarly, the purchase people, if they're not aware about the food safety guidelines, they would not know that whatever plastic they are supposed to buy, whether it is bags or whether it is straws, a lot of them are not buying now, cling films, aluminum foils, papers, etc. They all are supposed to have food grade certification. And what they don't understand is that food grade certification is not a declaration from the company. It is basically a migration analysis, which is a proper test conducted by a testing laboratory. The incorrect kind of thermometers, they will buy STEM type of thermometers, will buy only laser gun thermometers, non-foot operated waste bins will be purchased. Many a times you will find that the equipment like chest freezer is purchased for frozen products. But you realize that the temperature is displayed only by a needle with a gap of 5 degrees. And for you, minus 18 and minus 13 is like gone. So if the product is not at minus 18, it is at minus 13 for a long time. You're not supposed to use it the way it was. You'll have to reduce its shelf life. So you cannot monitor that because the dial only shows you 10, 15, and 20 degrees. So that is also a purchase specification not followed generally. The glass panes are not shatterproof. The wood is not the right kind. It is not polished. One very important thing which many purchase people wear in the hotels, in the luxury hotels, if they have the colored crockery. The colored crockery will always have a colored ink lamination. So they fail to understand that even that comes in. So, okay, the problem is that the crockery provider will have it in place, but we as a department don't know much about it, so we do not ask them. So that becomes a problem in the FSMS implementation and all. The origin of the product, if in case it is an imported product, the kind of label, if it is provided by a local vendor, all these things become a concern because of incomplete awareness or knowledge of the food safety hazards by the purchase department. Uh, when we talk about the competence management, um, in various places we see that the most important tasks are being conducted by people who are contracted, or they come and change day-to-day basis because you have a manpower contract. Now, if I have to serve water to a guest from a water cooler, the water to be safe in that water cooler has taken me crores of rupees because of treatment of the water, because of buying a water RO plant, then buying the water cooler, and then making sure that the water till the tap is safe to consume as per the law. Now, if your trainee from some XYZ college is being hired to wipe the glasses after dishwashing or glass washing, and they use a dirty duster to do so, your crores of rupees have been used. And that has happened because your manpower was, or let's say even the duster was right, but the person had joined it. And you cannot monitor because you cannot check jaundice every day on somebody's face. It was the responsibility of the manpower provider. So when your manpower contracts do not have the criteria of health and expertise, then such concerns are bound to happen when you are taking all the necessary measures for making food and water safe, but it turns to be contaminatingly poisonous on consumption because of such other concerns. The manpower availability and the budgeting is also a concern, um, which happens to be the only criteria for FSSAI third-party audit mandate counting. The state prescribed norms for manpower where you are supposed to hire a certain group of people mandatorily, and then it becomes difficult for you to allocate that kind of information or education carrying people in some critical tasks. You will be surprised to understand and know that in hotel management graduation colleges there are no semesters devoted to the subjects of laundry and stewarding, which happen to be one of the most critical pillars in terms of food safety, if I have to explain. The manpower operation hours, many times you will find that people are working for over the shifts and night shifts, and there's a huge amount of events, and they are breaking their heads into not getting proper sleep and stuff. And in that mental situation, these people tend to do certain habits which are allowed as per hospitality, but not as per food safety, like scratching your nose, being tense, and touching yourself, and taking too frequent smoke breaks, or going for the food at the wrong timing, having stale food, etc. So all these things can lead to be a food safety problem. Um, the scope of manpower and roles and responsibility, as we discussed earlier with trainings, you will find that many times the new joinees, even in the kitchen and service, they're handling food contacts, but the training department waits for a certain number of people to gather before they can actually do their induction on food safety. It is a surprising point. So you, just because you don't have a ready batch of the new joinees, you have not conducted their hand washing procedure, but they are still wiping the glassware, wiping the crockery, setting the ready crockery on the on the counters, etc. That can be really hazardous. Many times we'll find that the temperature of the walk-in displays is taken by the maintenance only, and they set it to a certain temperature and take that temperature. However, the actual temperature within the walk-ins and the cabinets is improper. The food is improper. And that temperature is never addressed. Never addressed. Never I have seen in any walk-in temperature log that sometimes some food also has been sampled for some temperature efficiency, or inside temperature of a cabin of a walk-in is being chilled. That does not happen. And that is exactly what is required, not the display temperature. Calibrations, there will be probably hotels who have got their microwaves calibrated by temperature, and they will understand this concern very well. When we talk about the inhibitions, we will understand that a lot of times you have practices like uh, a table operated can opener being used, which cannot be cleaned. You are using, I told you about the glass bottles and oil bottles in the chillers. Squeezies are supposed to be used as bottles, but then what we do is we puncture the top of the gulab gel, the kevra, the ketchups and all, and we use it from them. These are conventional methods which are hazardous and they are an inhibition to food safety. Uh, because of the poor qualification and understanding, educational understanding of people in various departments, or the process of hiring these managers in the departments, they probably are not very uh, gutsy, and they're not very pally with the software regime of today, like ERPs and SAP, which could be a great software to address food safety issues in a hotel, but we still lack their execution because of the inability of the departmental managers and executives to learn and execute them, and also the complexity of the process, like the amount of small blisters of butter chiplets or blisters of milk sachets or jams and marmalades that we receive in a hotel. It is difficult to use a software to manage the batch coding or expiry date for each of them. So that happens to be an inhibition for the type of process with the software usability, which the auditors should understand and also do a physical verification, and not only a software check on the kind of inventory now. Presence of union, and I will not say further, allergy support. Now, we all know who are sitting here who may be from the fraternity of food safety and not and also from the fraternity of hospitality. They all will understand, they all have undergone the rigorous exercise of preventing the customer from food allergens. But tell me, how many of you know what needs to be done in case of customer getting an allergy attack? I will hold on for 10 seconds. Raise your hands or put in the chat box if you really know or you have the authority to take an action in case a customer or a guest in your room or in your restaurant gets an allergy attack. What are you supposed to do? We are late, but I will wait for another 5 seconds for you to answer. This is an important question. I can give you the answer, but the silence, this non-availability, unavailability of any answer of this question proves this point well. That we are trying to, and it is equally a responsibility of the trainer, of the assessor, evaluator, auditor, that they are judging you on your effectiveness of food allergy and allergen management. However, we ourselves don't know what you are supposed to do in case there is a food allergy attack. I'm not talking about food safety, from about food allergies, because that is a bigger concern, right? No answer as yet. So there is a hormone called as epinephrine. There's an injection of epinephrine which the European and the American restaurants are authorized to administer to the guests who have suffered from this. Now we, with the Food Safety Act and with the international acts, we did have the complete literature and guidelines and documents on food safety and on food allergies. We have separate trainings on food allergens, but till date, there is no information certification from any Department of Health where you are told what exactly you are supposed to do in case of it. Very good. The last category which I have is finally the customer. My question has always been that you have done everything what is required for food safety. Now, how do I as an auditor when I'm checking your manuals and record keeping, I'm trying to check your, I'm trying to assess and evaluate your efficiency in protecting your consumers from a food safety attack, which could be a contamination. How much do I check if your consumers are following food safety or not? Or am I trying to ignore and avoid the responsibility of the consumer, which in other cases of industries, whether it is retail or warehousing, transportation or manufacturing, totally lies on the consumer when they even buy something. In this case, how can I avoid and ignore that a customer has washed their hands or not, or have ordered the right kind of food meant for them, if in case they fall ill because of it? A hotel guest steps out to have pani puri from a roadside area, or Sekova in Nepal, because I have audience from Nepal also today. And then they happen to come back to have a soup, and then they complain of soup which is boiled for 100 degrees Celsius for at least 5-10 minutes as a broth, and even tossed at more than 100 degrees Celsius, and complains of food safety with a bacteria which actually could be present in both the things, pani puri as well as the soup. How can I ignore uh, the, 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 the mistake of the customer in this as an audit, as an also as an authorizing reason? I put that to the front. The customer requirements, like you may talk about menus in standard formula, but also there are customer requirements of a mother asking for a boiled milk at 1 a.m. in the night, or I wanting to change my recipe of a certain food product in a certain way. Those become difficult to document as exceptions in any food safety manual. Am I right? Or am I right? The veg, non-veg, no onion, no garlic. These are certain preferences which are not food safety hazards. When you talk about separating the veg and non-veg, then that is not basically a food safety requirement. It is a food quality and the preference requirement. So including these in a food safety manual or documentation becomes a challenge. Um, and sometimes, because a hotel is open to feedback from different sources, an auditor can never have an enumerated, limited list of feedbacks. And that happens to be a challenge in auditing a hotel, because you can only judge on whatever you are being shown or whatever you can search. A complaint which has not been registered will never reach you as an auditor to understand the root cause analysis of this complaint. Now, a few of my observations in the past have been, whenever we are, as a recommendation, I mean, I can take this slide only if you wish. So, when you are mobilizing new hotels, the owning company and the managing company both can come together to understand the country laws of the hotels, opening land. They can have a pre-opening inspection by the specialist. They can have an encouragement, uh, they can encourage the local vendors, whom you may have for bags, you can have for the fruits and vegetables, mushrooms, etc. You can encourage them to accomplish compliance, because a lot of you are buying prepared foods like machris, namkeens, mithais from local vendors because you want to give that local taste. This could be a social responsibility that you have. But another responsibility that you have is you cannot ignore food safety here. Okay, and you have to have your social responsibility. So you can marry both these things by encouraging or driving, another social impact by uh, educating your local vendors to learn food safety implementation and get licensing certified. Supply chain operations, the most important thing is the majority of the supply chains globally now have associations, and the hotel industry as well as the food safety community can come together to train the supply chain, because all starts there. The vendors should be encouraged to form associations, so the information of food safety from the law governing authority like country laws or international standards, can pass on to each vendor from these associations. Otherwise, it is difficult for each vendor to be educated. And for that reason, particularly, each hotel can also hold quarterly or 6 monthly meets for vendors to educate them what is the requirement and what is basically expected from a hotel to be followed as from the guests as well as their auditors. They can also be kept as, in their audits, they can be kept as a witness. If you watch how we are audited, the kind of strictness there is in the audits. Your third party suppliers and service providers must have a selection criteria as per section 7 of iOS, the clause number 7. For even the laundry operations, the outsourced operations, you should have a criteria for all these by the supply chain. And for every product receiving and rejection, you should have pictorial representation in the receiving areas and the stores and in the kitchen area. Because rejection can happen even in the kitchens. When it comes to scope, you should include all the food contact person as we discussed, and then you can have some kind of a descriptive like some engineers, IT personnel, and housekeepers who are involved in food handling can be given some kind of a badge on their pockets, the top of the pockets, or on their sleeves, etc., to show that this is our red team or a blue coat team or a red coat team who are actually our food handlers. You know, modifying the operations accordingly to make food handlers responsible for food handling. So if a receiving in charge is inspecting food and not a chef, then they should be made and their responsibility and accountability should be invested into them. They should be trained and understood what is their standing in the organization. Defining holistic and effectual roles and responsibilities like start giving cross providing responsibilities. Okay, that okay, you could do that function. Okay, let the kitchen handle uh, buffet temperature records. And I hope the hoteliers will understand here where there's a cross responsibility, then the effective of the action does not always come perfect. In terms of manpower, the manpower contract should have health and qualification mandatorily in their contracts. The training and certification of manpower companies should be from a competitive force. So now, let's say from the coming fiscal years, if the hotel associations or the hotels start demanding the manpower agencies to come from a reliable source, then they will start getting certified also, and they will start forming a forum or association where they are aware of the standards and they start taking accountability of their manpower being physically fit, mentally fit, and also equipped with the information of food safety. Optimization of cost studies to not disturb manpower, calculation for convenient manpower strength using sustainable work ethics. So that you cut down on cost, but not so much that your food safety is getting affected. Designing skill sets as qualifying criteria based on regulatory law. This is my qualification or eligibility for you to enter into this department. Keeping global standards of hygiene and safety available as sort of modules or videos where each of the employee can, anytime, whenever they want, they can actually go visit and learn from it and keep it always in the back of their mind. You can also print handy booklets. There are certain audience here who will agree with me because we did it together. You can have handy booklets of food safety norms for everybody to keep revising and knowing it daily. You can concise them to, let's say, 5-pointer, 7-pointer card, which can also be on the back of your identity cards, which you can regularly check. Design and layout. The infrastructure and equipment planning can be commissioned by specific consultants only. And if in case it fails, even then you hire some specific consultants in the business from food safety also to actually approve and validate if your design and layout and commissioning is appropriate as per food safety. For the standards, if you have multiple standards, you should design. If you have 3 parallel standards, you should have a 4th manual, which actually outlines all the requirements of the 3 standards So you can obsolete all the three and manage only one, which is the stringent and the most holistic and exhaustive standard to be followed, making sustainable and convenient to use work instructions. It is a very, very known fact, very widely known fact that unless and until your work instructions are not convenient to be used by the shop floor persons, they will never be followed in entirety and with full integrity. Regarding customer education, which is a very, very sensitive point, but again, some of my audience will agree because we put something together where you can have transparency with the operations, but you can make your guests with full precaution move into your areas and have a check on the kind of stringent measures that you have. You can let them see how you function. You can have videos of your operations to be showcased in the guest room videos or trivias in the restaurants. You can have pictorial and symbolic instructions or requests, hospitable requests to the guests on following hygiene, like avoid touching places when you are eating your food. Do not use the same plate when you are standing on the buffet. Uh, the plates can be changed for changing of course, but do not take them there. There could be respected ways of requesting your guests to follow food safety from their point of view. So those are a few things that came to my mind. There could be more when we discuss them. So all of you are requested to add on to that. Rest, I think that was my summarizing, and I think I've taken a lot of time. But thank you all for being patient audience here and being a part of the session today.
Sino?
Sultan. Tawag mo.
Yes, ma'am.
Pantayan yung chat buka mo. Tingnan niya.
Hi, Sushma. Weather?
Thank you so much, sir, for the presenting, for briefing us on FSMS helps organization to ensure that their practices are in place and working effectively. It also assures to the customers and different stakeholders about ability of organization to control food safety of the product. Now I request all the delegates to put your questions in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and ask directly. Sir, there are 2-3 questions in the chat box.
Yes, I was reading those.
Our country is getting regulated for food safety since 2005, but many challenges exist related to many food products dumped from abroad. Hello, I'm audible, sir?
I'm reading that. So the
Okay,
question
okay.
basically is that by Dr. himself, the country is getting regulated for food safety since 2005. Uh, yes, that is very true, Doctor, because people who know, they would understand that there is something called as the CIH and ServSafe in the UK. There are two standards for training people. And the entire notification on the entire manual of FSSR has been, it looks like as if it's an um, actual extract of these two training manuals. So yes, there have been a lot of concerns and challenges in terms of even the temperatures, like whether the hot holding should be at 66 degrees, 60 degrees or 55 degrees, which also was amended recently in 2021. The labeling requirements, allergen requirements, these have been challenges, but the only way out, doctor, is that when it comes to the food safety implementation or designing manuals, as auditors, we would be expecting them to follow the newest requirement. But the one thing that I always understood that the industry does it, except the hotel industry, is that validation. So, in the terms of the hotel industry, what we miss for a very, you know, lot of processes, like keeping your peg measures of alcohol in chlorine water, which is a disaster. keeping 150 or 200 ppm of chlorine concentration for various things which is not required. The industry just takes on and absorbing the laws and norms that comes to them. However, what they can do, which any international standard allows you to do, is to validate your own processes. If today you say that you are using a method by which you can disinfect your chopping board, it will stay disinfected till the next use without using a 200 ppm of chlorine for a non-vegetarian chopping board. You can do that if you have a validation. But what we really miss in this industry is that there are no validations done for sustainable environment. The industry takes on whatever is being dumped on the term you have used correctly, dumping on from abroad. So these things have come from abroad with the chlorine and the temperatures, etc., which they can actually validate by themselves, like keeping food at ambient temperature for various products, which they have to keep in the cold. And certain food products like bhindi or karela or lemon butter fish, it cannot be kept at 65 degrees Celsius for 4 hours. It is damaged. So those things can be cooked at a lower temperature for a longer time, kept in a different format, in a different way. But these things will need validations, which the industry says themselves from, and the auditors also have taken a stereotype to judge and evaluate on the available scientific history only and no validations or effect.
Thank you, sir. There are one more question, sir. Apart from LA in ISO 22000, what are
Yeah,
minimum qualifications?
Vaibhav, just one moment. I'm reading doctor's
Okay.
the third part of the question. UAE has food watch online control and monitoring food safety. Yes, doctor, we currently have that. We don't have it here. It's only the unannounced inspections by the food safety officers, by the authorities, or the planned audits by the food safety auditors. Otherwise, there is no online food watch which the Balabia does in the Middle East, is not prevalent right now. But certainly with their guidance and blessings, we will proceed with that too very soon. Yes, Vaibhav, which question were you reading?
Yes, sir. There are one question, sir, that apart from LA in ISO 22000, what are minimum qualification of an individual to be
Okay,
required?
yes.
Yes.
Yeah. This question is important. So I will call you Lenovo because that is how it appears here. So Lenovo, apart from having a certificate of LA in ISO 22000, which is just one standard, you can have also PRC, GS or FSMS 22000 or higher. After having an LA, any of these standards with the most current version, you will have to spend 30 man days of audits with the co-auditor, with the lead auditor. So the 30 man days have now been further broken down in the newest versions of 22002 and 3 in 2018, which describe that it can also be a few certified or let's say a third party internal audits, or third party governed internal audits can also be counted. But 30 mandates of audits have to be performed in the shadow of a lead auditor or along with the co-auditor all put together before you can actually perform as an auditor. However, this does not end here. Your qualification will be designed apt to your industry exposure. So if in case you have gained this experience in food and vegetable processing, even in your observation audits, and you want to conduct a cold chain supply audit, then you will have to undergo an examination by the certification body, pass that examination, and then you will be able to audit for that stage. So this is the process that will be followed. Also, you have asked a question, Lenovo. A food safety inspector and an ISMS third party auditor, are there not differences between the roles? There is certainly a very important role is compliance, Lenovo. So in any management system standard certification body auditor, can check you on your level of conformance with the international standard criteria you have established according to you, announced or unannounced. The result of which can land up into your preparing corrective action planning, changing your system, training the people, and then providing your actions done to the certification body to probably release your certification or surveillance certificate. In the case of food safety inspectors, as a food safety, we don't use that word now, as a food safety officer authorized by the food safety authority of any country's MSP, they have the authority to shut down your business as well. So if in case you are not following a certain norm, the implication will not be on the certificate, but it will be on the licensing. And licensing is your ability to run the process. It can also be commercial in nature, which is penalties or imprisonment. So that can also happen. But in the terms of a management system auditor, it only refers to the performance to a certain set of standards. Any more questions? If you wish to unmute and ask.
I requesting everyone, if anyone have any question, to please unmute yourself and ask directly, or you can put in the chat box. So I think, sir, there are no more questions. So shall we move ahead?
All right, I believe there are no more questions. Very well, till never find something to say. I'm really thankful to all of you for this event today, this session. Please understand that whatever examples, whatever information I have used is based on the experiences and observations. And the challenges are not basically any kind of concerns coming from a certification body or a consulting firm. They are just my personal experiences which I wanted to share with all of you. And even the recommendations are not authorized by any law governing firm or a body, but they are my own experiences and my observations which can probably help you in providing those standards. So thank you for being your patient audience.
Thank you so much, sir. Our next session is on 17 June 2023. It shall be taken by Ms. Sana Kazi. ICS is pleased to provide you all its research and development, integrated management system, QMS, EMS, and OSHAs, excellence in education management, ISO made easy in Gujarati, Marathi, Telugu, and in Hindi. Now we officially close the session. Feedback form. Please register on www.sadgunsang.org and go in your login and give feedback. Thank you. Now I officially close the session.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.